Anal Lovers 8-Pack, Books 1 through 8, Virgin Anal Sex Erotica Collection, written by Kimmy Welsh, narrated by Talula Rouge.
Anal from my friend while his wife showers. Anal Lovers 1. I'm back at my old home for the holidays over winter. Alan and Carrie had taken me in at 18 when I had no place to go and offered me a room with cheap rent. They're always glad to see me. But Alan loves to make jokes about how he has to keep his hands off his wife while I'm there. I'm 20 now, and I owe those guys a lot. I always pretend to shudder at the thought of the two of them together, but if I'm totally honest, the idea of it intrigues me a little. I've never seen them be intimate, but I think I'd like to. I wonder how older people fuck. Anyway, I'm back for now in the room I used to stay in. They hadn't changed it at all. College had so far been a wild ride, and my priorities had shifted. Since losing my virginity there, I found myself becoming increasingly interested in the naughtier side of sex, and the things that a woman could have done to her. I was on a real voyage of sexual discovery. I'd stay up late in my dorm room, browsing the internet and looking for kinks that piqued my interest. It started tame, with videos of sex and cum shots, but soon I was watching women getting butt-fucked and wondering what it might be like. So far, I'd only gotten as far as a finger, but even that had felt good. Back at Alan and Carrie's, things were different. I'd snuck a few glances on their computer, but I was cautious. I didn't want them to come into the room and see me fingering my ass on the swivel chair while I watched porn. I tried to keep a lid on things. Anyway, on the second night back, I managed to drift off to sleep. It had been more difficult on the first night, but I was starting to feel more comfortable after so long away. I didn't fully remember my dream, but I do know that it was somewhat erotic. A rhythmic bumping sound had provided the backdrop, and I'd been roused by a roaring cry of ecstasy. I wasn't sure whether the sound had been real or whether I'd imagined it, but it startled me awake nonetheless. I sat there in the darkness and blinked to check whether or not my eyes were even open. I put out a hand for the bedside light, but couldn't find it. Everything was different at home, and if I'm honest, I'd kind of lost my bearings. I slipped from my room and into the hall, thinking that I was right back at college. I tiptoed down along the dark corridor and pushed open the door that I thought was our shared washroom. I could hear a flow of water coming from within, as well as the sound of someone breathing heavily. I still wasn't entirely cogent, but reality was dripping back slowly. I moved closer towards the sound of the water. A crack of light came through another door within the room. I approached cautiously with my arm out, ready to enter. "Wait," a voice cried. "Carrie's in there." I turned back and looked. I squinted in the half-light and made out the figure of someone in bed. They were half covered by a duvet. I could make out the curves of some muscles strewn with hair. I realized then that it was Alan, and I was in their room. "Oh, gosh," I hushed. "Gosh, I'm so sorry." "Are you still sleeping?" he asked. I laughed, whispering, "I feel like it." By now my eyes were adjusting to the light that was coming in from the ensuite. I walked steadily to the bed and looked down on Alan. He was still out of breath. "Did you have a bad dream or something?" I asked. Something like that," he sighed. "Carrie's showering late, isn't she?" I looked back to the door and the rushing water beyond. I could hear her singing softly. Yeah." I walked closer to his bed, rubbing my arms. "I'm cold." He opened the duvet cautiously and offered me inside. I didn't think about it as much as I should have. I jumped in excitedly and snuggled in. It was just so warm. I rolled my shoulders and smiled. I hadn't noticed the soft slap of Alan's cock as I'd nudged against.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?